Good morning, all. Hope you all are attending the classes properly, regularly, and you are doing the worksheets regularly. You are solving those worksheets. These two are very much important because on this basis, we are going to assess you. Internal assessment will be based on this too. So do these things regularly. Okay, attend the classes properly and uh, do the worksheets properly, okay, regularly. So let's start our today's class. In our previous classes we have done up to chapter 2 we have done, and today we are going to start chapter 3. uh, so let's start this chapter already. This element, compound and mixture, this is our today's chapter. Today we are going to discuss this chapter, and this already you have done in our previous classes. So just today we will recapitulate these things, okay. So let's start. So elements, compound and mixtures, today we are going to discuss these things: matter and its classification, element and its classification, then properties of different types of elements we will discuss, then compounds and a brief discussion on it. We will discuss compound in a brief manner, and then we will going to discuss some formula and name of some common compounds. Matter and its classification. So you know what is matter: anything which will occupy some space and which is having some mass, uh, those are called matter. So matter can be classified into pure substances and impure substances. So pure substances are those substances which are having only one type of particle in it, okay, and these are homogeneous. Pure substances will be homogeneous always. So pure substances can be classified into element and compound, and then elements can be classified into metal, non-metal, metalloids and inert gases. Metals will be, these are the examples of metals, you know this: sodium, magnesium, iron, gold, these are metals. Non-metals, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, these gases. Metalloids, boron, silicon, arsenic, antimony, these are metalloids. Whereas inert gases are helium, neon, these two examples are given here. But other than this, argon, krypton, xenon and radon is also there, are also there. Whereas compounds we can classify into inorganic and organic compounds. Organic compounds are those compounds which we generally get from any living thing, okay, it may be plant or maybe animal. Whereas inorganic substances or inorganic compounds we will get from non-living things, okay. So example of inorganic substances are sodium chloride, NaCl, magnesium oxide, water, these are inorganic substances. Whereas organic substances are sugar, alcohol, vinegar, these can be given as an example for this organic substances, okay. Next, impure substances, this can be classified into homogeneous and heterogeneous, because impure substances, they may be homogeneous and heterogeneous both. So on homogeneous substances we can give the example as tap water, air, these are homogeneous substances. Homogeneous means in all over of these substances we will get a similar composition, or they will be spread all over properly, or evenly, we can say. The particles will be spread all over evenly. And heterogeneous substances are just opposite to it. That means the particles, the concentration of the particles or the composition of the particles or the substances are different in different part of the substances or whole substances. Okay, so sand and water, and these are example of heterogeneous substances. Oil and water also can be given as an example for this kind of substances. Means see, when we will get the mixture of sand and water, though later we will be going to discuss these things properly, or elaborately we will be discussing these things. But sand and water, if we take the mixture of these two, then we can see the sand, as it is heavy in weight than water, so it will settle down at the bottom of the container. Wherever we will take that mixture, in at the bottom of the container, it will get settled down, and water will be on the upper level. That means the concentration of the whole mixture is not equal everywhere. Okay, the concentration of the sand will be more at down of the container, and water, the concentration of water will be more at the upper level of the container. That means this substance or this mixture is heterogeneous. Okay, so afterwards, later on, we will be discussing this too properly. Let's move on. Here comes the properties of different type of elements, that means metal, non-metal, metalloid and noble gases. So what are the properties of metals? These elements have metallic luster, means the metallic shine. Metals having metallic shine. Mostly these are hard and solids. We know this, metals are hard and solid mostly, though some exceptions are there, but these are the general characteristics of metals which we are discussing. Metals are malleable and ductile. What is malleable? What do you mean by malleability? Malleable means metals can be beaten into sheets, means we can make a very thin sheet from a metal. Whereas ductile means these can be, metals can be drawn into thin wads. Okay, that means from a very small piece of metal we can make a very thin sheet of we can make a very thin sheet, and we can draw it to make a very thin wire. Next, metals are generally good conductors of heat and electricity, and metals are sonorous, means if we beat any metal, if we hammer them, then we will get a particular sound from the metals. That means this property is called as sonorous. Metals are sonorous. Okay, so examples of metals are iron, gold, silver, etc. Other examples are also there, copper, sodium. Okay, many are there. Now let us see the exceptions. Sodium and potassium, these metals are soft metals. Okay, these exceptions for both metals, non-metals, these are very important. Okay, so read this, learn this properly. Mercury is a liquid metal. Generally we know metals are hard, but here we will see mercury is a liquid metal. Next, zinc is brittle in nature. We know that generally metals are hard. Okay, we cannot they are very hard. Okay, easily cannot be broken down, but zinc is such a metal which is brittle in nature. Okay, easily we can break that. Next, tungsten is a poor conductor of electricity. We know that metals are good conductors of heat and electricity. These are the general properties, but tungsten is an exception where we will see it's a poor conductor of electricity. Next, come to non-metals. See, these elements have no luster. We don't get the metallic luster in non-metals. They are generally dull. They can be soft solids, liquids or gases. So metals can be solids, soft solids like sulfur. They can be liquid or gases. They are neither malleable nor ductile. This property we have seen in metals, but in non-metals we cannot find this. Okay, they are not malleable and ductile. So next, non-metals, they are bad conductors of heat and electricity, and they are not sonora, just opposite to the metals. Okay, we will not get the sound if we hammer them. If we beat them, we cannot get the sound. Okay, so examples of non-metals will be hydrogen, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, bromine. These are the example of non-metals. Hydrogen, nitrogen, these two are gaseous non-metal, whereas sulfur, phosphorus, these two are soft solid, whereas bromine is liquid non-metal. See the exceptions in non-metal: iodine and graphite. These two are lustrous. We have seen, no, we read that generally non-metals are, they don't have the metallic luster, they don't have the luster, but the exception is iodine and graphite, because both are lustrous, both are shiny. Next, carbon fiber is ductile. Okay, we can make a very thin wire from carbon fiber because this is ductile. Graphite is a good conductor of electricity, which is an exception. And diamond is the hardest natural occurring substance. We know that generally non-metals are soft, but a non-metal means diamond, it's a non-metal, that is carbon, it is the hardest naturally occurring substance. Okay, next come to metalloids. These elements have properties of both metals and non-metals. Metalloids having property of both metal and non-metal. And examples of non-metalloids will be boron, silicon, germanium, arsenic, antimony. Next come to noble gases. Noble gases are chemically inert, non-reactive, so that's why these are called inert gases also. They are all gases and they are found in traces in air. In air, in a very traces amount, or in a very small amount or small percentage of noble gases we will get. So examples of noble gases are helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon. Okay, this you know already. So let's come to the next slide. Come to the compound, this part. So what is compound? Compounds are made up of different types of atoms combined chemically to form molecule. Here different types of atoms or different elements, or two or more than two elements will be combined together in a fixed ratio, combined chemically to form a molecule of compound. And the properties of a compound are entirely different from those of its constituent elements. See, what is this? If we give an example, then it will be easy to understand this part. See, here we have taken some sulfur in this test tube. Sulfur is a non-metal. It's a yellow non-metal, it's soft. Okay, so here we have taken sulfur dust, and in this test tube, in the second test tube, we have taken some iron dust, which is a metal. So sulfur is a non-metal we have taken in the first test tube. Iron is the metal which we have taken in another test tube. Now see, sulfur is having property of getting dissolved in carbon disulfide. If we add carbon disulfide in it as a solvent, then sulfur will get dissolved in it and it will form a solution. And this is the physical property of sulfur, we can say. And for iron, we know, all of us, we know that sulfur will iron will be it will get attracted by magnet. Okay, so this is again a physical property of iron. Now if we add these two in this test tube, we will be adding sulfur and iron. See, you can see both the sulfur particles, the yellow particles are of sulfur and this grayish particle of iron. So if we mix these two and heat this, then we are going to get iron sulfide, FeS, ferrous sulfide we are going to get, which is a totally new compound. Okay, so these two are two different elements, sulfur and iron, and after heating this, means we are doing a chemical change here. By heating these two, we are getting a whole new compound which is having a totally different property than that of its constituent elements, means sulfur and iron. Here ferrous sulfide, it will not get dissolved in carbon disulfide, whereas sulfur is having that property. But in this ferrous sulfide, in this compound, sulfur has lost its property of getting dissolved in carbon disulfide. In the same manner, iron, this ferrous sulfide, this cannot get attracted by magnet. That means iron also, it has lost its property of getting attracted by magnet in this compound. That means both the constituent elements have lost their property in this compound. Okay, and in this compound we are getting a totally new property than, which is different than that of its constituent elements. The same thing can be uh, given in this example. For this chemical change or reaction, we can again say the same thing. Here we have taken some sodium, it is it's a soft metal. Okay, and this is chlorine gas. So this is non-metal and this is metal. So if these two we will mix these two and they will form sodium chloride. This is table salt, commonly used substance. Every day we use this. See, this sodium is soft, it's a metal and it's very much reactive, whereas chlorine is poisonous. It's having a choking it's a suffocating smell, we can say, or choking smell. It's having it's poisonous. Okay, and it is greenish yellow gas. Now after getting reacted, sodium and chlorine, they will combine together, chemically they will combine together to form sodium chloride, which is having a totally new property than that of its constituent elements, that means sodium and chlorine. Here sodium chloride is non-poisonous and we use this to increase the taste of our food. That means its chlorine has lost its poisonous property here in this compound, whereas sodium also has lost its property in sodium chloride. Okay, so when we will get a compound from different two or more constituent elements, we are going to get a totally new compound whose properties will be totally different than that of its constituent elements. Now see, we will learn some formulas of some common compounds. So this already you know, you have done this. So water, it's very easy, H2O is the formula. Carbon dioxide, we know this is CO2. Sodium chloride, common salt, these names are also important. Okay, so both you have to do. Sodium chloride, NaCl. Next, glucose, C6H12O6. This is the formula for glucose. This is it's a glucose, it's a sugar. Okay, so carbon, hydrogen and oxygen, these three are the constituent elements. Sodium bicarbonate, commonly known as baking soda. So this is the formula, NaHCO3. This HCO3 is the formula of the radical. HCO3 minus is the formula of the radical bicarbonate. Okay, so this is sodium bicarbonate, NaHCO3. Sodium carbonate, Na2CO3, this is the formula of sodium carbonate. Calcium carbonate, which is commonly known as marble and chalk. In chalk, the component of chalk is nothing but calcium carbonate. So CaCO3 is the formula. Silicon dioxide, this is sand, SiO2. Acetic acid, commonly known as vinegar, so CH3CHH, this is the formula. Copper sulfate, CuSO4. Magnesium oxide, MgO. Potassium hydroxide, KOH. Calcium hydroxide, CaOH whole 2. Hydrochloric acid, HCl. Sulfuric acid, H2SO4. Nitric acid, HNO3. Silver nitrate, AgNO3. Barium chloride, BaCl2. Calcium oxide, CaO, and ammonia, NH3. So all these formulas you have to practice, you have to write, otherwise you cannot do it properly, you cannot memorize these things. Okay, so a bit you have to practice a bit, otherwise it's cannot be done in that way. Okay, so this is all for this. Now you better you pause the video, and after that you just go through the study material, you do it properly, go through the study material properly, and then come back for doing the worksheet. Okay, so today we will be discussing the worksheet which was given earlier. Okay, and for today's class one more worksheet will be given, so that we will be discussing in our next class, and keep on doing this. Just a second. That's all, and so student, just here you pause the video, and then you go through the study material, and then come back, because we are going to discuss the worksheet which was in physical and chemical changes. From that chapter we are going to discuss one worksheet. Okay, so pause the video and come back soon. Okay, let's do the worksheet. See, I know you have done this your own, then also let's just discuss this a bit. Okay, all these things you are going to get in the study material. In your book you will be going to get this. So slow changes, any two example. So other than this two you can give your own example, but that should be a proper one. Okay, so growing of tree, slow changes, example of slow changes will be growing of tree, rusting of iron, these two, because they takes a lot of time to occur. Next, first changes, which will not take much time, so burning of papers, switching on a fan, this can be given as first changes. Other than this, bursting of a firecracker, this also can be given. Cooking of cooking of food cannot be given here, because it may take some time. Okay, so first changes better not to give that. Natural changes, change of season, change of day and night, this can be given as natural changes. Or growing of tree, that also can be given as natural changes. Next, man-made change, cooking of food you can give, bursting of a firecracker you can give, switching on a fan, that also can be given as man-made changes, as example of for this. Next, periodic change, change of season, change of day and night, These are periodic changes because they will repeat themselves after a regular interval of time. You know that these are called periodic changes. So these two examples for this. Non-periodic changes, earthquake, landslide, these can be given as non-periodic changes because we cannot predict when this will happen, or it doesn't uh, comes as a regular interval of time. Okay, so earthquake and landslide or an epidemic also can be given as non-periodic changes. Reversible changes, change of state of water, any state of water, like boiling or evaporation or freezing, any changes, all can be given as reversible changes. Drying of wet clothes, that also reversible change because these changes can be reversed back. Irreversible changes, burning of coal, cooking of rice, these are the irreversible changes. Okay, next, our next question was write the characteristic of physical change. That is also very this is also very easy. You know this. No new substances is formed. No new substance is formed during a physical change. The change is temporary and reversible, that is, the substance returns to its original state on changing the conditions. And there is no change in mass during a physical change. No mass will be changed, and there is usually no gain or loss of energy as a result of physical change. So this 4 can be given as characteristic of physical change. Okay, so this is the thing. So student, just do today's worksheet, try to do that. I hope you can do this your own, and next day we will be discussing that. And go through the chapter properly, do the classes, attend the classes regularly, maintain your worksheet, solve the problems, and take care, be safe. Okay, so have a good day.